So you notice I have crutches. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't really think about it anymore, but when I walk down the street, sometimes I realize actually people are noticing it. And it does happen. It keeps happening, although it's been 36 years since I got hurt. But I want to tell you a story about how a broken back helped me follow my heart. And I think this is a recurring theme, and I can tell you which side I'm going to vote on. I'm going to vote on the follow your heart side. So I grew up in Milburn, New Jersey. That little orange dot is my house. I lived in the same house in the same room from the time I was a baby until the time I went to college. And this is my mother. She was a real estate agent. My father ran his own business. At the dinner table, we talked about business. This is my little sister, Ginny, 2 years younger than me, and then that's me. I wasn't at UCLA then, but I liked the shirt. And this is my older sister, Kat, who just visited me from California. And this is my older brother, Kenny. Kenny was 6 years older than me. And importantly, we shared a bedroom. As it turned out, when I was born, my parents said, "Do you want the third bedroom, or do you want Billy with you?" And he said, "No, I want Billy with me." So that little decision, which I didn't really play a role in, we shared a room, really for my whole life. And so that's the room. That's not Kenny on there. That's some kid that I don't remember. And so I cut him out. Sorry. But then something happened, and it was actually really tragic, which is that my brother went to college, and he went to Michigan, and I grew up with him. He was always there. And I didn't realize that college would mean that he would be gone, actually gone. And it was, it was really a huge thing. And in those days, even the telephone, it was really expensive, and it was very hard to really sort of feel in touch. Now, back then we had TVs that looked kind of like this. This one's actually from '59, but I couldn't find a 1965 TV. And but I love Star Trek. And Star Trek, I watched it every Friday night. I would fight with my sister about whether to watch Star Trek or Judd for the Defense, and I won, luckily. Otherwise, maybe I might be a lawyer today. But Star Trek was more than just about technology. I mean, they had this, great technology, but they also, I think, it was about philosophy. And you always had this logic that Spock had, but Kirk always followed his heart, and Kirk always won. And it was really great. And so this is really the basis of my talk, which is I intend to help people follow their heart. And furthermore, I believe that people are pushed to follow their head. And I think this is tragic, and I want to tell you some stories about how I pushed myself to follow my head, and what happened. So there's my head, and this will come back. And I took my head to St. Louis, where I went to college. Although I did follow my heart a little bit, I chose St. Louis for one reason. They had co-ed dorms. So that was why I went there, and I think that was a follow my heart thing. But when I got there, and by the way, that worked out great. When I got there, I decided to major in economics. Why? Because it sounded like a good thing to do. This is the head getting in there. And I spent a lot of time trying to be a good student. And that's the head there. And I want to show you a little story. I decided that to be a good student in economics, I should read the Wall Street Journal every day and cut out that little section and put it in a notebook. And I did do that. And I thought that made me a good student. I thought I was inventing myself as a student. In fact, I was mired in inventing myself. I was lost in that. Well, then something happened. I hit some ice. I hit a tree. I got the spinal cord injury that you see here. Actually, a sort of modified version because I can do some things with my legs. And my life changed. And I ended up here. In this building, in this place in New York City, NYU Medical Center, with a broken back. And I want to tell you a story about a box. And this is not the actual box, but there was a moment really that happened. I came back to my room and I was so frustrated with everything and all this stuff that I had been trying to figure out who I was and what I would be. And there was this big cardboard box in there, and I just started smashing the hell out of it. And I just smashed it to pieces. And I remember, like, at some moment there, I just said, I can't afford all this crap. I got to just let go of the equivalent of paste the stupid thing in the stupid notebook. Who came up with that stupid thing? You know, what is that? But then it was like, be what my parents wanted me to be this, be that, do this, do that. It was all crap. And even my parents didn't want it. And I just said, that's it. I've had it. And I did. I changed. And it helped that Susan was my PT, and I was in love with her, and that made PT really much better. And I sent out the pictures for scanning, and I was hoping it would show me her last name on that name tag there, but it didn't. It wasn't enough resolution, so I'm still wondering what her last name was. This is my roommate, Tom, and Tom Wade, and he is a quadriplegic. He's like Christopher Reeve, cannot move his arms or his legs. And Tom, in a sense, gave me a gift, two gifts. One was to realize that I was very lucky. I had all this movement. And the other was that he gave me the gift of realizing that I could actually help. And there was a moment where Tom was on the phone with his girlfriend, and he said to the hospital operator, no, I can't hang up the phone. Somebody had cradled the phone for him. And he was like, no, I can't hang up the phone. They actually had operators then. And I realized this is ridiculous. He should be able to control things. So I went out and I bought this whistle switch. It was like 1995. And I took the little whistle out and hung it over his bed, hooked up a light to it, and he loved it. It was great. Well, what happened is this ended up sort of affecting the next couple years of my life, where I built this thing called the whistle system. And this controls lights and changes TV channels and dials a phone and so forth. And I was 19 when I started it, and 22. And then I ended up going to MIT. And this set me on the path, not of economics, but of technology, which I really loved when I watched Star Trek. And instead of being what I thought I should be, I started being who I was. I went to MIT. Later, I started Avid Technology. And I didn't realize this, but this is what's behind it. I intend to help people tell their story. That's the intention behind Avid, and we did it. We started small. This is the office we rented in Burlington, Mass. It's still there. Actually, that's a recent picture. And this is the original Avid, and this is the original machine. And I believe that I built Avid from the heart. But then the head kind of got in the way again. You'd think I'd learn once, but I didn't. The head came back and said, aha, now you have experience. Now you can do something really big. None of this like, just try it out. You don't exactly know what you're doing. Now you know what you're doing. You can raise tons of money. I raised tons of money, did my second company. And then in starting this, Ted Turner says, don't bother setting small goals. Thanks, Ted. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make the most popular software ever made. I said that. That was in my pitch to the VCs. By the way, it worked. Not the software, but but the concept of selling somebody on the ego of making the most popular software ever made. But what was really in my heart was, how do you bridge this gap when someone you love is so far away? Well, we have the answer today. It's called the social network. Back then, we didn't have this stuff, and I was trying to build a social network. But I didn't really follow my heart with the second company. I followed my head, and even though what I really wanted to do was make it feel like you're under the same roof, there was this make the most popular software ever made thing. And so what we really did was we made an electronic secretary, because everybody wants a secretary, and we made an electronic secretary. And I really knew that I had missed when, I'll just tell you a quick story. I know I'm over, but I blew it. But it's the end of the day, and what the hell. With Wildfire, I intended in my heart to help people feel closer together. But what I did build with Wildfire made them feel further apart. And I want to tell you a story. Guy comes up to me a couple years ago. I said, I did Wildfire. He was like, oh, Wildfire, I know Wildfire. And I'm like, yeah, like this. He says, yeah, whenever I get Wildfire, and I was like, yeah. He said, I hang up. And he said, I hang up. I said, why? He said, because those people don't want to talk to me. You know, people got it to screen calls. They got it to be an electronic secretary, to cut out guys like him they didn't want to talk to. And I really knew that I had basically followed my head. I wish the story was simpler than it is, but we actually sold Wildfire for a ton of money in the bubble. So I cannot tell you, follow your heart, you'll make lots of money. Follow your head, you'll make nothing. It doesn't work that way. Both of them work, all right? And both of them sometimes don't work, all right? But what I will say is I let my head override my heart, and I don't recommend it. Right now I'm doing something called the Anything Goes Lab to help entrepreneurs, follow their heart and get their head working for them. And my message to you is use your head, but follow your heart, and you'll always have a leg up. Thank you.